Bought a couple of boxes of 1996 Press Pass Premium Racing. This is important to me because I found one of my first race used tire cards out of this product at a Kmart with my dad. You used to be able to feel the packs and you could feel the rubber tire in the pack. So I'm just going to open up a couple of these, or I'm going to open up one of these boxes and see what I get. Came with Crystal Ball, Hot Pursuit, Parallels, as well as Emerald Proofs, which were numbered out of 380. There were no autographs in this set, but you could get the second round of race-used materials, which were tire cards. You could actually get a piece of rubber on the card. Nowadays, every single box has multiple race-used or game-used items, but back then it was one per case. And it was, I believe, the 1996, the regular Press Pass was the first series of sports cards to offer anywhere across all the sports any game-used or race-used memorabilia on the card. And then I believe Upper Deck came in 1997 with their jersey cards. I think they had like Ken Griffey Jr. and a couple other people. And then Racing came out with those as well. But anyway, haven't opened a box of this in 20 years. 20 years. Kind of exciting for me. A lot of different knowledge that I have about this. Let's see. That is crazy to me. There were two versions of the Press Pass Premium in 1996. You had the retail and you had the hobby. This is the hobby. And you could tell the two apart very quickly because the retail packs were purple and there was more of a purple tint on the box as well. And you could only get 4 of the 7 race used tire cards out of the hobby version, and then the other 3 were available in the retail version. The hobby version had, Jeff Gordon, Mark Martin, Ken Schrader, and Dale Jarrett. Mark Martin, Jeff Gordon, Ken Schrader, Dale Jarrett. And the retail version had Rusty Wallace, Ernie Irvan, and Dale Earnhardt. And you could feel all the inserts in these packs. You could feel the rubber card, you could feel the Hot Pursuit, and you could feel the Crystal Ball. The Crystal Ball was die cut. Hot Pursuit had a little bit of a raised edge on the cards, and they were typically the first card in the pack for the Hot Pursuit. All right, so I'm going to show you the way that you feel, the way that we felt the packs, and they were just available at Targets and things like that. If you went into a hobby store, guaranteed they weren't going to let you feel the packs, but you just push the cards all the way down to the bottom. You just give a run down like that, down like that. Shouldn't be anything in here. But this was extremely, extremely fun for me as a kid. And when we found that first tire card, that was pretty intense. I'm actually gonna get that. I still have it. My dad found it. We were at a Target at 7 Mile and Farmington Road in Livonia, Michigan. Or that might have been Farmington, Michigan. And it absolutely blew me away. Absolutely blew me away. And I used that card to trade for an open box of 1989 Max, which at the time was selling for $700. But I used that card. See if I can actually get these in here. So this is the first series. The cards were not, just looked like there was like a rubber dot, which I guess that's exactly what it was. It's a rubber dot. It's a piece of tire. But it was just a black dot. I thought this design was extremely interesting because that just blew me away. It seemed like it was harder to find these. I never pulled a race used tire card out of the regular 1996 Press Pass, but I pulled many out of the Press Pass Premium. Many, many, many. Granted, I opened more boxes and they had more packs at the stores, but anyway. So this is what the Premium set looks like. And there were 2 additional cards of Bobby Labonte and Terry Labonte that were available with die-cast cars later on in that year, which are these right here. And those were numbered out of 1996, I believe. But anyway, this is the first Jeff Gordon card that I pulled back in 1996 with my dad at a Kmart. And I ended up trading it away as part of a massive trade with a bunch of other stuff for the 1988 Max box. And I opened up the packs, made my set of the Max, and traded to get this card back because I'm a sentimental guy, so I was just feeling the burn a little bit too much of getting rid of it. So I ended up getting it back. But anyway, that's what we're looking for. That is what we are looking for. And we're going to see if we can find it. It's going to be pretty fun. I think this was the golden era of collecting for me. All right, let's see. See, that's the parallel. Got an Earnhardt right off the bat. And a Bobby Hamilton. So that's a good first pack to have. So you see the parallel has kind of an interesting coating on it. Has a rainbow tint to it. Almost looks like what a refractor looks like. And you see the base card, the paper card, has a gold seal at the top. And this one is just printed. They're not numbered. And the Emerald Proofs that are numbered out of 380 are not individually numbered. It just says 1 of 380. Now the back has a little bit more of a glossy coating on the parallel compared to the paper, but it's not all that noticeable. Out of this box, I'm hoping that I can make a set. There's only 45 cards in the set. Ken Schrader, Terry Labonte, Joe Nemechek. And these 3 packs, I felt them already, so I know there's nothing in there. And by the way, I have no clue how you would tell if there's a card, if there's an insert card, a specific card in newer packs. It's just, there's all the, the thick cardboard pieces, all the cards are pretty much the same. I know some people can. I didn't really stay up with it. Oh, crystal ball. Whew. Nice. Obviously, I didn't push down hard enough because, as you can imagine, with only 3 cards, this one being in the sandwich, there's quite a bit of give in the empty parts, or where the crystal ball is not, or where it's cut. So that's pretty cool. And then I got the Mark Martin car parallel, Steve Grissom. This is awesome. These boxes were $70, I think, retail. And another Earnhardt, fantastic. Ted Musgrave parallel, Bobby Hamilton. So they were $70 retail, and then the what used to happen is Targets and Kmart's and stuff a couple of years after the cards were on the market, if there was any overstock or there were returns or anything like that, the boxes would be deeply discounted. So these went on sale, I think, in like 1998 or 1997. They were $30 a box at Target and Kmart and things like that, which now I believe all this stuff is handled by a company called Excel Marketing, so I don't know if they actually do that, but you guys see the repackaged packs that they have at the stores, and so it's kind of like the same thing. I don't know what they do, if they have just unopened wax boxes or foil boxes, but I would imagine that they do something similar. Just discount them. Let's see. That might be a Hot Pursuit. Might be, might not. Nope. Oh, Emerald Proof. There we go. See, now the Emerald Proofs, this one's of Chad Little, so it's not very notable. But you can see the little Emerald Proof right above his name in green. Right above there. And it just says 1 of 380, whereas the Ricky Craven doesn't have anything. So, oh, it does have a serial number on the back. See, my memory's failing me 23 years later. 134 of 380. It's right down on the bottom. And I don't know if there is a rubber card in here. It's hard to say. Maybe I want to just keep it sealed. Because I have the set. The cards aren't worth all that much. You could build a set for probably under $100. Earnhardt and Gordon being the most valuable. And the Earnhardt and Gordon back in the day booked at $250, and you could get $200 for that card. It was absolutely an insane time for the card market, especially NASCAR, since it's gone down so much. Oh yeah, the phone card. That is just special. Michael Waltrip $5 phone card has a scratcher on the back. And I think it was very common in all sports to have phone cards be part of the product offering. Really silly, but nonetheless really cool. Michael Waltrip $5 phone card. Used to have a bunch of those. I don't think I ever used them too. I think you could get like $20 phone cards, $50, $100. And yeah, I don't think I ever used them as phone cards. Sterling Marlin, Terry Labonte, Chad Little. Let's get some more of these packs. This is just too awesome. I opened a box of, let's see, this was in like 2012. I opened a box of the M-Force, which had the first sheet metal cards. And the cards were in some sort of acetate. They had acetate backing, and there was some sort of like jelly covering. Some had a hardener in them, some did not. And when I say that, it means that, so the piece of sheet metal was laid on top right here, and this was a clear background. It had a picture of the driver right here, but the rest was clear. And then over, it had this really thick, like gelatinous covering. And some of them, the early ones I believe, did not have hardener in it. So you could take the card and you could literally just bend it in half and it would go back because of the acetate. And the metal was down at the bottom, so you didn't have to worry about bending it or resisting the bend. And then they put a hardener in it, so they became more of a rigid kind of card. But I opened a box of that, and those were really interesting packaging. Hopefully I'll be able to get another box of those. But they were basically, I think there were 18 packs in a box, and they were all like hang tag boxes. They look like, God, what do they look like? Like a blister pack, you know, like it had the cards were behind a black cover that was glued to a cardboard backing, and the cardboard backing. So it was like really big, and I didn't get anything good out of that. But then I bought a box of 1996 Press Pass VIP, which had the first race used fire suit card in it, and I ended up pulling the Earnhardt fire suit, which I do have still. And this was in 2012. So it was pretty exciting. You know, it's fun to relive stuff like this, especially if you can pull some good stuff. But there's the card right there. And story about this card, the guy I used to go to all the time at the trade show at Gibraltar Trade Center in Michigan. Pretty much twice a month, and I would go see him, and I would go see him and his wife, actually, Bernie and Patty. And Bernie told me about a trick of how you could find which box, you had to buy the whole box, but which box had the Earnhardt fire suit in it, and it was like one per case on average. And you see, in the back here, with this box specifically, you have the Press Pass logos with the flag facing upward. Well, most of this product run, I believe, had all the flags facing upward, but with the VIP run, they had alternates. So the flags would sometimes be facing down and the logo would be facing down. Not that the press pass was right side up and the flag was on the other side, but that they put the boxes in the shrink wrap machine the opposite way. And it wasn't just that if you found one that was upside down, you'd be able to pull the Earnhardt fire suit. But more times than not, if you had a whole case sitting there looking at an entire case that you opened, you'd be able to tell because it was the oddball out. Meaning, if you had 11 boxes of the 12-box case with all the flags pointing that way, and there was one box with the flags pointing down, the oddball out had the fire suit in it. I never was able to experiment with that, but that's what Bernie told me, and he had a bunch of them. He had one with the patch on the front that said GM on it, which I believe is probably like that logo right there. Anyway, it was really cool. A lot of good stories from that time in my life. I was a big NASCAR nerd. Crystal ball in here. Big NASCAR nerd for about 5 years. Absolutely loved it. Used to wear the hats to school, the jackets to school, the shirts to school. Ricky Craven, crystal ball. Very cool. And I didn't really care too much. You know, I was just owning it. I didn't have any friends that shared my enthusiasm. And for the most part, people my age didn't share the enthusiasm for cars. My one buddy, Scott, really loved cars. His dad was a racer, kind of like my dad, and they got along. But then we ended up going to different high schools, and then in high school I stopped really paying attention to it. You know, which happens. But ooh, holy shit. Well, there's a rubber card in here. That's insane. That's insane to me. Oh man, what a feeling. I'm gonna save that. Might open it at the end, I might not. That is too cool. That is awesome. That is awesome. And out of the 2 boxes too, you know? I mean, there could be another rubber card in that one, but I'm going to keep that one sealed for sure. That is so cool. Nerding out. You know, when I have kids, I know they're going to be into some stuff that my third Earnhardt. They're going to be into some stuff that, you know, everybody may know, like they could get made fun of for it or whatever, but you have to encourage that. You have to let them do what they do. Like, I was building 5 model cars a day sometimes. I love building models. I loved everything about NASCAR. I loved talking to people about it. I loved the business side of it, the sponsorship side of it, the PR side of it. I loved all the colors of the cars when they would change them. I loved the drama, all the driver changes. The first year I got into NASCAR was 1993.
Dale Jarrett seeking in. They touch. They come back to the line. White flag. White flag and 1 lap to go.
Here he comes, Earnhardt. It's the Dale and Dale show as we come off of turn 4. You know who I'm pulling for. It's Dale Jarrett. Bring her to the inside, Dale. Don't let him get down there. He's going to make it. Dale Jarrett's going to win the Daytona 500. All right. Oh, look at Martha. Oh, dear. Oh, can you believe it? Oh, trouble behind Rusty Wallace is turning over.
Rusty Wallace 20 feet in the air, spinning, crashing.
End over end and flipped, and my gosh, and I left there thinking this is terrible. We go to the next races and run great.
To only have to finish in the top 35 maybe.
I know when I went into Atlanta, that last race, I said I got to sit on a pole, I got to win the race, I got to lead the most laps, I got to do everything I can. And you know what I did? I did that.
Rusty Wallace comes off the corner, takes the checkered flag, and wins the Hooters 500.
And I still come up short.
The 1993 NASCAR Winston Cup Series champion for the 6th time is Dale Earnhardt.
And there were car changes and, you know, the passing of the torch with Jeff Gordon coming in, being the young guy.
Jeff Gordon's going to win this race, fellas.
Out of 4, here they come, rolling to the line. And the rookie from Indiana. It's Gordon across in first. The 2-time 500 winner, Elliott in second, Kyle Petty in third. How about that one?
Man, this The last thing was ever on my mind. We had a real strong car. These guys, this DuPont crew, they worked real hard, and it's paid off for them. This is great.
To victory lane, right?
Yeah, I had no idea how to get here. I just followed all the NASCAR officials, but I'm sure I was going to find my way.
Did you know who you beat, Jeff, in this business?
Well, you know, I mean, these are the best. This is everything I've ever worked for to get to this point.
Davey Allison, Alan Kowicki dying.
Bob, I have been involved in the sport of auto racing for about 35 years, and that's the first time that I've ever seen the winner say out on the racetrack and go the wrong way.
That victory lap there is something I had thought about for a long time, and I wanted to do something special and never be another first win, and I just wanted to give them something to remember me by.
Alan Kowicki is coming off of corner number 4, knowing that he's winning the championship. There's the checkered flag for Alan. He's the champion for 92.
Kowicki would finish second, but with those 5 bonus points, he won the championship by the slimmest margin in NASCAR history. He celebrated his greatest moment the only way he knew how.
And guess what? He's going to do it again.
6 years ago, I was just a little guy with a dream that moved down south with a pickup truck and a trailer. After running a few NASCAR races and dreaming about it for 10 years, I thought, well, maybe I was ready to take a stab at it. I hope that when 1993 is over, that the people at Winston, the people at NASCAR, and the competitors all look back and say, we were proud to have him represent us as our champion. Thank you.
On April 1st, 1993, a plane carrying Kowicki and 3 others to a race in Bristol, Tennessee, crashed on approach to the airport. There were no survivors.
Wherever you are, Alan, this is for you, baby. And not unexpectedly, Rusty Wallace takes the reverse, the Polish victory lap, as Alan Kowicki called it. Rusty, a tremendous run today for your team.
Yeah, it was. I mean, I'm real happy with the team, you know, but I'm sure not going to let this good run overshadow my buddy, you know.
Well, that's true. It brings cold chills over when you think about him. And Alan was a great champion, and we honor him and honor him well. I hate what happened, and wish we had him here, but you know, we'll honor him and have good thoughts of him.
I don't think you could ever meet a finer human being in any kind of lifestyle.
The determination, the way he accepted the losses and the mishaps.
Even when things was down and rough, he never got down.
Davey's a very sensitive person, and he had one of the biggest hearts that you could ever imagine.
I think all of us have a tendency that when things are going our way and it just seems like you can't do anything wrong, you get to taking some things for granted, almost feeling like we're bulletproof. And I guess this year I was probably a little bit guilty of that. You know, everything I touched seemed to turn to gold, so to speak. You know, took flying lessons in helicopters, got my helicopter license. We won the Daytona 500.
Mr. Allison, 32 of Hueytown, Alabama, injured in a private helicopter crash yesterday at Talladega Superspeedway. Died this morning at Caraway Methodist Medical Center.
He had bought his helicopter 3 weeks before. Said he was going to have it mainly for the purpose of saving time, getting from place to place. $4,000 people showed up for the wake. Signs were put up in businesses all over and in people's yards. Finally, 600 people managed to get into St. Aloysius Church in Bessemer.
It was a tragic event in a town, and the people in this area that follow NASCAR will always know who these people are, and always know the Allison name, always know the Bonnet name.
I'd run second to him in a minute if it'd bring him back. We came down to the start-finish line and said a prayer for him and for the Allison family, and you know, hopefully the family can get over it and we can go on from here.
Well, I'm proud of him for a lot of things, but I think I'm most proud of him for just being the gentleman that he was.
If I could be remembered as a friendly person and a person who took time out for others around him, that would be more than enough to satisfy me.
There isn't much you can say here as we watch this final half lap in the Polish victory lap that Alan Kulwicki was so famous for.
And then Neil Bonnet died in the beginning of 1994.
Finally, tragedy struck the sports world again Friday. For the third time in 10 months, a NASCAR driver lost his life. Neil Bonnet died of injuries sustained from a head-on collision while practicing for the upcoming Daytona 500. The winner of 18 Winston Cup victories was 47 years old.
Ernie Irvan taking over the Texaco car for Davey Allison and then winning 2 races, I believe, 1993, and then winning 3 races in 1994, and then getting into an accident at Michigan.
Saturday morning practices are usually pretty quiet, but Saturday, August 20th, was tragically different. At 8:40 in the morning, point contender Ernie Irvan experienced a horrible crash. After completing a 10-lap practice run, Ernie had decided to return to the pits. While coming through Turn 2, where speeds averaged 170 miles an hour, an apparent cut tire sent Irvan violently into the wall. The crash would result in Ernie Irvan being airlifted to an Ypsilanti, Michigan hospital with severe head injuries, including a fractured skull, a swollen brain, as well as collapsed lungs. His prognosis for recovery was slim, but with the racing world silenced, his friends, fans, and fellow drivers kept Ernie Irvan foremost in their prayers, while Ernie Irvan fought the battle of his life.
It was just, there was so much drama and so much change that was going on in that time period that it was really captivating. It was extremely captivating. And the cars, they were still trying to figure out how to keep the cars on the ground. The roof flaps were introduced in 1994.
The roof flaps are something new in NASCAR Winston Cup racing this year. They're a safety feature. A lot of people have put in a tremendous amount of time in the design and the development of the roof flaps. They were originally scheduled to be run on the tracks at Daytona and Talladega, but since then they've been made mandatory on a lot of the other racetracks because they do work.
There is no more flap over roof flaps. It took just one trip to the track to prove the value of this safety feature. NASCAR came up with the idea, and Jack Roush brought it to life.
Well, you know, we had the interest as a team in trying to keep the cars on the ground so NASCAR wouldn't slow the cars down more. We think the racing needs to be up with the cars about as fast as they are, with as much power as they've got, to be able to let the drivers really race and make it exciting for the fans. So whenever Jerry Nelson initially, and then backed up by information coming from GM's wind tunnel, and then finally from Ford's, came up with what the configuration of the air interrupters needed to be across the roof, well, then I got my guys involved, and we made some hinges and some springs and cables and things that would stop the flaps from flying off the car at the same time they would deploy whenever they were needed as the car got sideways.
So there was that whole piece of it. The cars just kept flying through the air. The first race I went to, Rusty Wallace tumbled over at Talladega.
We go to Talladega. Great performance that day. Led the race all day long, right to the very end. Starts raining. Caution flag comes out. We went back to green. And as we're rocking them back to the front with the checkered flag waving, I get a tap.
Checkered is waving. Ernie.
I didn't get to see it. My dad saw it, but because I didn't know where to look, and the cars had just passed us.
Irvan wins and Rusty spins and gets airborne.
End over end 25 times. Awful. Flew across the start-finish line with the roof down and still finished 6th.
Wallace
Wallace spins. Wallace's car goes on its nose. It barrel rolls 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 times down the main straightaway, comes to a rest on its wheels, looking so similar to the problems that he had at Daytona.
But anyway, it was just a really fun time for racing, and it was, you know, becoming America's #1 sport. And I used to have to try to explain to people, because my friends wouldn't want to go to the races to me. They weren't interested in any of the things that I was. And I had to kind of try to explain to people when they asked, like, why did I like it? And it's like, when you're a kid, you constantly have to, like, defend yourself. You know, like, I don't like the idea of that or the notion of that. I don't think it's right. I don't think it's right that kids or people in general have to just defend themselves for the things that they're interested in. Now, if it causes harm to somebody else or it's extremely unhealthy, okay, I get it. Have the conversation, or, you know, try to help the other person. But trying to show grace and compassion, I think there's a... there's a hot pursuit. But try to show grace and compassion and stuff, and especially with little kids, man. I mean, like, parents, yeah, there's a hot pursuit. So that's an Ernie Irvan hot pursuit. When kids are just starting out, it's like, they need to feel like people are on their side, like they're being supported. But I didn't feel that from many of my, there's a Gordon. I didn't feel that from many of my friends' parents, except for Ian's parents. They were always just kind of go with the flow, easy does it people. But like a few of my other friends' families, like, they're just so judgmental, and I just couldn't. Another hot pursuit, very cool. I just couldn't really deal with that, and you have to move on in life. Can't surround yourself with people like that. But anyway, you know, I'm sure, you know, it's hard to relate to people that are somehow unrelatable, or they're interested in things that you just aren't interested in. Just like I wasn't that interested in baseball, football, hockey, and all that stuff back when I was really into NASCAR, because that's typically what happens. People that are into NASCAR aren't into all that other stuff. So, I don't know. All right. What do we got here? See, it's impossible to get a full set of the parallels from one box, even if you got all different cards, because there's 36 packs in a box, one parallel per pack, 45 card set. So, if you're talking opening boxes, then you absolutely have to open 2 boxes. But, you know, I'll probably look online, try to find my ones that I don't have. This is the last pack. That's it. Well, that was a lot of fun. Oh, and when when the boxes would be sitting at the dealer tables or at the stores, they'd have that. Usually if they're at the stores, they just rip the top right off. But anyway, this has a rubber card in it. That's very exciting to me. Unfortunately for the video, for you guys, I'm going to keep this sealed because I have the set. They're not that expensive, but just for nostalgic reasons, I'm going to keep this sucker sealed and keep it in my binder. Thank you guys for watching. If you did, this was a lot of fun for me. This was a huge part of my life in the mid 90s, mid to late 90s. And then later on, actually in 2005 or 2006, I ended up buying a collection of NASCAR cards, 1 million NASCAR cards. Spent $4,000 on it, acquired 1 million NASCAR cards. The guy thought he was giving me 200,000, but it turned out he miscalculated. He gave me 1 million. And I ended up selling those over the 2 years after that, and entered business plan competitions with how I was doing it, and I was selling to all the repackaging companies. Like, it was awesome. I was traveling to different states, doing trade shows, and just selling to collectors that love buying massive quantities of cards. I mean, it was a really fun time in my life for a lot of different reasons. A really sad time as well, but that's for another day. Anyway, thank you very much for watching. I appreciate it. I know this might be, if you guys were watching to see if I got a rubber card, I did. It's in here. I might open this at some point. If I do, I'll make another video, but for right now, this sucker's gonna stay sealed. It means more to me closed than it does open. So, all right, thank you for watching. I appreciate it. And until next time, peace.